Christine Chappell. I'm so thankful for some of you who have already posted good morning comments that you're joining me here today for Top 5 Friday, talking about my favorite books, my favorite Christian books on the topic of depression. And so I'm really thankful that you're here. I am trying out new production gear. Okay, so this is fun for me to try and see how all of these tools are working. I want to encourage you, please leave your comments. I just had Mary say hello. I want to put you up on my screen. I want to let people know that you're engaging. And I think that's just super fun. And so please do feel free to comment as the production goes on. I want to also just let you know what are we covering today. So Top 5 Friday, it's something I'm going to try to do. And maybe if you guys really like it, then I will have it be a weekly thing every Friday. But for now, I thought it'd be really fun to test out some new production equipment and also have the chance to connect with you on Facebook Live. And so this video is covering my top 5 favorite Christian books on the topic of depression that approach the topic of depression from a biblical perspective. I'm going to share how they have ministered to me in the past, why I think they're helpful, who to recommend them to, and when. I think timing is really an important part of being compassionate in our care for those who are walking through depression. And so I'll just say some comments on my suggestions. Again, all suggestions, not at all something you have to do, but just things that I've observed personally as I've recommended resources. And then also too, just as someone who has walked through depression a numerous amount of times. So I hope all of that is helpful for you today. Also want to let you know, I realize these are not the only books on the topic of depression. There are others that I would even recommend, but the theme is Top 5 Friday, so I want to share the ones that I think that would be like my first batch of recommendations. But that being said, I'd love to hear yours, right? So if you are watching and you're seeing what mine are, and you say, gosh, I think there are some other ones Christine might really like. I know there are other ones out there, but I'd love to hear from you as to what they are. So please do use the comments. Comment and I will display your comment on the screen for others to see as well. And we'll just have a fun time. I'm going to try to keep this to 30 minutes if I can. So we'll see how that goes. I also want to let you know that, hold on one second. Oh, don't close. I almost stopped the live broadcast, guys. I almost clicked the bad button you don't want to press when you are doing live. But I do want to let you know that if you are interested in getting notified when Top 5 Friday broadcasts are going to air, you can actually subscribe to my email list. And that is something that goes out every single Wednesday. You will get information on any live videos that I'm doing, whether it's Top 5 Friday or any other ones that I may be offering. And so this is a great way to stay connected with me and the resources that I'm providing through my podcast, the Hope and Help podcast, or any other potential content that I'm producing. So get signed up there. I also, at the end of the video, will tell you about a brand new printable. I just created a brand new resource printable I want to share with you. I'm not going to say too much about it yet, but stay tuned. At the very end, I'm going to let you know that if you sign up for my emails, or if you are already a subscriber, then next Wednesday when the email delivery goes out, you will be getting that brand new download. But I'm not going to say what it is just yet, so you have to wait. So that being said, let's go ahead and dive into my recommendations for Top 5 Friday Christian books on the topic of depression. And again, please go ahead and leave comments, and I will be happy to answer any questions, or just to hear from you, hear what your recommendations are, or if you have actually even read the books that I'm sharing, and then you could say, yes, I thought that was helpful, or you can say, I didn't think it was so helpful. Totally up to you, but thanks for stopping by, and we'll go ahead and get started. So is the grand reveal. These are my top 5 books on the topic of depression. They are books that approach the experience of depression from a biblical perspective. I'm sure that maybe some of you may even be familiar with some of these titles, but let me go ahead and share with you what they are. So you see the first one right here is Spurgeon's Sorrows, Realistic Hope for Those Who Suffer from Depression, and that is by author Zach Eswine. And I want to let you too know, you may not be aware, but at my very first episode of the Hope and Help podcast, which launched almost 2 years ago, was the end of April 2019 was with Zach Eswine about this book. And so I've been thinking recently, gosh, I should pull that from the archives because it's so buried under all of the other episodes that maybe it's time to bring it back and rebroadcast it, because I just love that conversation. But if you just have to listen to it now, I would recommend that you do so. It was a really great conversation on it's hope and help for the depressed Christian is what it's called. It's the very, very first episode. So if you are a subscriber to the podcast, you can scroll all the way to the very bottom and you will see that episode, or you can comment here and remind me, and then I can copy and paste a link to that episode as well. So check that out. But I love this particular book on depression for a number of reasons. It personally ministered to me in some of my darkest days, just after the birth of our third child, and then even some other, a couple of years after that. And I think why it was most helpful to me is because it's easy to identify with as you are in the pit. So this is where I say timing is important. If there's someone that you're caring for, or if you personally are in the thick of it, I mean, you are really in just a very bad place, or the person you're caring for is in a bad place, I recommend this book because it's compassionate. The reader can easily identify. So Zach Eswine is basically infusing his own personal experiences with depression in this book, but really highlighting Charles Spurgeon's own experiences of depression that he even shared through sermons. And a lot of that content is pulled into the book. So Zach Eswine does a really great job of weaving in Charles Spurgeon's own teachings and his own comments about his experiences with depression and into something that is relatable to the reader, to the person who's really in the thick of it, who just needs to know that what they're going through is not unique to them, that there is hope, that God sees them, that there's comfort. And so I definitely recommend, that this particular book even talks toward the end about the subject of suicide and those types of thoughts. And so again, really super compassionate and yet super helpful. And so that is why I would recommend this particular resource specifically for the person who is in the pit. I would probably not recommend any of the other resources for the person in that particular intense, really, really low, feeling like maybe God has just totally stepped away, went like this and said, that's the type of person I would recommend this book to anyone, but specifically for someone who is in the middle of that situation. That's the resource I would personally give to them first. It's meaty enough to offer a good amount of biblical teaching, but it's not so thick where you would open it and say, good grief, I can barely even focus, let alone try to read this many pages. So that's my recommendation. Have you read Spurgeon's Sorrows? If you have, I would love to hear if you found it helpful or what you liked about it. So please do comment and let me know. And I would love to hear from you. And like I said, I'll put your comment up on the screen. Don't be shy. It's fun. But I would love to hear from you. So let me know. And the second one I will say, so you know how I just talked about oops, sorry. Oh no, I pushed the wrong button again. Live broadcast. There we go. I just talked about not having a book that is too long, right? And so that's, I think, a really important thing to consider too when we're talking about recommending resources to people. When somebody is really in the thick of the experience of depression, they're probably not going to want a big volume to read, and which is, again, why I really recommend the Spurgeon Sorrows book by Zach Eswine. However, when a person maybe is not in that triage state, where it's like emergency situation and maybe they're starting to kind of come up out of the pit a little bit, I think it's a really great time then to go ahead and recommend Ed Welch's book on depression. It's called Depression, it's the title, and then Looking Up from the Stubborn Darkness. This book in particular, I think, would probably, in my opinion, but maybe also in the opinion of others, be considered like the go-to, I don't want to say textbook because it's not a textbook, but I mean, it's the go-to resource for exploring the heart of depression, the various emotional experiences that come with it. And what I love about Ed Welch's book, which has actually even influenced my own writing in the book that I'm working on. So right now, if you're new and you don't know who I am working on a book called Midnight Mercies, Hope for the Dark Hours of Motherhood. And Ed Welch's book on depression even influenced my own structure for this book, because I really do feel like Ed Welch does a great job of presenting the experience of depression, where, like, if you think of the word depression, I think of an umbrella word, right? I think of a word that describes, like, encapsulates a lot of different emotional, spiritual, physical experiences. And so if you think just depression itself, I feel like that word is even inadequate to describe the experience, because, you know, there's a lot of things going on in the heart of someone who is walking through that season. You know, there's anger to contend with, there's grief, there's fear, there's loneliness, hopelessness, maybe even guilt, feelings of guilt. And so Ed Welch does a really great job of diving into those, but also in a compassionate way that, again, kind of echoes the tone of Spurgeon's Sorrows, in that you can identify with what Ed Welch is saying. But I think what that makes it different is this book is probably maybe three, I don't have the books here, 3 or 4 times bigger than Spurgeon's Sorrows. So just so that you know, if you have no idea about anything that's been going on in my life, we had a house fire a few months ago. And so I wish I could hold these books and show you, here's the book, and show you, but I have to just settle for these graphics right here because I don't have the books. They got taken away to be cleaned. And so I don't have them to show you in the physical copies of them. But again, talking about Ed Welch's book, I would recommend that to someone who is not in the pit. I would recommend this also for someone who maybe is being discipled. So if you are in a season of depression, or maybe you're helping someone with a season or through a season of depression, this particular book, it's thicker. I mean, and it goes deep, but I think with partnering with someone to walk through that content and reflect on some of the things Ed is sharing in the book, I think is helpful. And so I would recommend that maybe as a discipleship tool, and you could probably get through it in a couple of months. Again, when someone is walking through depression, their cognitive abilities may be even diminished or slow. They may even have a really hard time just reading, and that may even be a chore for them. So just to keep in mind, when are we recommending resources? When is the person that I'm trying to help able or even willing to try to go a little bit deeper? And I've found with depression that sometimes we need to be a little bit more out of it and then looking back than trying to feel pressure to hurry up and get ourselves out. For me personally, whenever I have done that, that usually has not ended well, because as you may have your own experience may know, that that's not necessarily the goal. The goal isn't let's figure out how to be happy in 24 hours, but really to become sensitive to what our depression is trying to say. That's something that Ed Welch says in the book, that depression, is trying to have a voice, is trying to tell us something. And so how can we partner with the Holy Spirit to figure out what exactly is going on? And then I also love Ed Welch too, that he acknowledges that there are physical components possibly at work in our experiences of depression. And I don't have the quote right in front of me, but he says something along the lines of that while there may or may not be, so may or may not be, physical contributing factors to what it is we're going through when we experience depression, there are always spiritual components to consider. And so he does a really great job of carefully walking people through that exploration of the heart of depression. And that is the reason why I recommend this book. And I recommend it, again, to be used in wisdom. Because it's long, right? And it's you got to dive into some things. And the person who is right in the thick of their despondency and is kind of needing more of a life preserver than necessarily a tutorial or a lesson. That book maybe will come a little bit later. So again, just to recap, the first one I would recommend when someone is in the pit and they just need a rope of hope to cling to, Spurgeon's Sorrows is the one that I would recommend. On their way out of the pit, so they're coming up, they're gaining some perspective, they're ready to try to dig through maybe some of the things going on in their heart, and they really want to get equipped to better have a perspective that can look deeper to their experiences and what God may be trying to teach them through it. Ed Welch's book on depression is great. Have you read it? Has anybody read this particular book? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I mean, I don't want to have a debate on the live video, but I would love to hear your comments about it. Maybe you found it useful, and you have something you want to say. So please do comment, and I will do something like this. Mary, hey, look, there's Mary, and she's saying hi. And so, so you can comment, and I will share it. If you have questions too, I will share it on the screen, and we can all just have a fun time with this video broadcast. Can't see you. I'm not sure why you can't see me. I see me, Mary. So I'm not sure why. Let me know if that changes. It looks like I'm on. So I'm just going to keep talking. There's 6 other people watching. 6 other people. Can you see me? If you can see me, comment and say, Christine, you're good. Can now, she says. Okay, so Mary says she can see me now. And then we also have Kim. So Kim saying, I have read it. I would agree. It was helpful for me to understand the nature of depression. Exactly. I agree with you, Kim. That book significantly impacted my own understanding of what was going on in my own heart and experiences of depression. And so I'm thankful that it was also very helpful to you as well. We're going to go ahead and go to the next recommendation. And so it's way over there. I wish that I could have it to where like my hand would go on top of this graphic, but I can't. That's way too fancy. But in any case, spiritual depression, its causes and cure. This is by Martin Lloyd-Jones. And this particular book was super helpful to me too. So again, what I'm sharing with you is almost the trajectory of my own exploration through biblical resources that pertained to depression. And after the initial comfort and the triage, I would say the infusion of hope that you get from Spurgeon's Sorrows, and identifying with someone like Charles Spurgeon, and to be able to look at my own heart and say, I'm not the only one, right? That there are saints who have, made huge impacts for the kingdom of God, who have suffered in these kinds of ways and lived to tell the tale, right? And that this is so comforting in the moment. And then on their way through our journey of exploration, our exploration of depression, and the heart of it, Ed Welch's book, again, another really great primer just to start getting more deep. I would say after that, Spiritual Depression by Martin Lloyd-Jones, Its Causes and Cure, another thick book, probably, if I remember correctly, the same size as Ed Welch's book. And so again, very meaty. But what I love about Martin Lloyd-Jones is that you don't get in the other 2 books as robustly, is that he challenges the believer in really constructive ways. Personally speaking, when I read that book, I was constructively challenged. There were convictions in my own heart of various ways where I, especially when he goes talking into emotions and the various emotional experiences of spiritual depression. I found that really insightful, the different teaching that he offered and the stories, the narratives that he used. And so I would say that I would recommend this as kind of like level 3, right? And so that's the order I'm trying to present it. Is this would be the 3rd one after you've already got, a really firm rooting in comfort and encouragement and fellowship, even with Zach Eswine sharing his personal, some of his personal story, and just how the scriptures give us something to identify with in terms of the experience of depression, and then Charles Spurgeon's own testimonies. So then moving forward through to Ed Welch, and the teaching that, and kind of going into the heart issues and different ways that we can respond, and be challenged to respond, then working toward Martyn Lloyd-Jones's spiritual depression. So that's spiritual depression. I would not recommend for someone who is in 911. They need comfort and encouragement mode. Although you do get comfort and encouragement from Martyn Lloyd-Jones, there is a lot. His teaching is more invigorating in terms of like trying to just snap someone out of thinking like you just can never change, and that you don't have any kind of power. And so that's how I would differentiate. I'm not doing a fantastic job, but what I do want to do, which I haven't done already, is post links to these books. So let me go ahead and do that real fast. I'm going to post, I'm just going to post the links, and hopefully it works. And that, okay, maybe it didn't really, let me do, this is my first time using this tool, okay? So while I copy and paste these resources, let me know, have you read, Kim already said that she read Ed Welch's book. Have you read any others that I've shared so far? I'm copying and pasting the links here in this live with titles. You can look them up on Amazon and read a much better description of the book than what I'm offering here, because again, I'm just going off the top of my head, and I don't have the books physically in front of me because of the house fire. So, and this one I just shared, Spiritual Depression, by Martyn Lloyd-Jones. So those are my top 3 so far in the order that I would recommend them. And you can click on the Amazon links there. Again, just a reminder, if you're just now tuning in, my name is Christine Chappell, and we are doing Top 5 Friday, Christian books on depression. I realize they're not the only books on depression. They're just my particular favorites. If you have others you would recommend, I would love to hear from you about them. So post a comment and tell me what they are. And we'll go back to the rest of the books. So the other books, we have 2 more left, and I'm doing great on time, so this is working out well. The next book is Good Mood, Bad Mood, Hope and Help for Depression and Bipolar Disorder by Dr. Charles Hodges. And I would like to say that I did interview Dr. Charles Hodges, Hope and Help for Bipolar Disorder. It is on the IBCD Hope and Help podcast. You can go to ibcd.org/hope and help, or you can go to my website and you can find that particular interview, and it was really helpful. I would say that in our journey through Christian resources on the topic of depression, this makes a great addition in terms of the trajectory of the resources that we are going through. And the reason why I say that is a couple of different things. Good Mood, Bad Mood was personally very relevant to me because I did at one point get diagnosed with bipolar disorder too, and there are not resources available that even want to touch that type of a label, I should say, with a 10-foot pole, really, that are from a Christian perspective. And so I appreciated very much that that Charles Hodges did at least include some teaching and some encouragements for someone walking through that type of situation. But I also would say that his particular book ministered to me because it really helped me to understand that I had made an idol, and I've said this before, I have made an idol out of living a depression-free life. And that might, when you first hear it, sound a little bit strange, but it's true. And the thing is that number one, Good Mood, Bad Mood helped me to understand that that sorrow is a normal experience, right? That we're not abnormal for experiencing seasons where we are in the pit. I mean, gosh, we see it all over in the scriptures, and it's not necessarily that something is wrong with us. This is a natural part of the human experience, but he also addresses some of the physical components too. And so he offers a really well-balanced view on both of those components, while at the same time refocusing our view and our perspective back on the fact that even if your temperament, just your natural, the way God made you, you're sensitive to the darker things of this world, and maybe you just have these experiences of chronic, even seasonal sorrow, that you can glorify God with your life, even if that's what's going on with you. And that was really super helpful to me to understand that my goal for living was not to achieve a victorious Christian defeat of any and all expressions or feelings of sorrow, but it was, even when I am in those moments, how can I glorify God with my life more than I want to breathe? And that's something that he actually, it's sort of a loose quote from the book. That's a way he approaches his counselees who are dealing with various challenges related to depression. This particular story he shared was more of an eating disorder situation. And so when I say that this book is what helped me to understand I had made an idol out of living a depression-free life, it was that statement, right? Because he compared it to, so for me, I'll say personally, to the up to that point in my journey through depression, I wanted to live a depression-free life more than I wanted to breathe. And it was so true, and it may sound really strange, but when I look back and see at how much I struggled to try to just, even through my faith, to try to just eradicate any negative feelings, sorrow, grief, just thinking that, like I said, victorious Christian living is something that you don't experience those things. And I was, as a result, because we can't keep ourselves from sorrow, right? I mean, Jesus said, in this world you will have sorrow. And Jesus is not a liar, So, but for some reason I felt in my own strength I could do that. And so his book was really just a turning point for me in my battle. And I can't thank him enough. In fact, I've thanked him personally many times, and I'm sure I will continue to do so. And I will also say that he had even given some input into a new mini book resource that is coming out this summer that I've written called Help. I've been diagnosed with a mental disorder. And so I'm really thankful that the Lord let our paths cross in such a way as to be helped by his book, but then to have him even offer some oversight in a book that I was writing that was definitely influenced by his ministry through his words, and In Good Mood, Bad Mood, Help and Hope for Depression and Bipolar Disorder. So, and the last book I'm going to share, again, I'd love for you to engage. Have you read this book? It's available on Amazon. Let me go ahead and copy and paste it here. Hopefully you guys are seeing these links come through because I'm using a production software that is feeding into Facebook. So hopefully that's coming across. This is my first time doing it, so we'll see. But if you have read this book and if you found it helpful, or if you have any comments, please do share them in the comments, and I will share your comment on the live stream. I think that's just so much fun. Okay, the very last one I'm going to share is the last one you see over there in the corner. And this may be like the one you didn't expect. This is the surprise one, right? So this one is called The Silent Shades of Sorrow. And Tony says, yes, the links are coming through. Wonderful. This tool is so great. Thank you, Tony, for just confirming that for me, because I can't see on the other end. Part of the house fire that I had took away my second screen. So I'm even doing this broadcast on one 13-inch screen. It's a little bit, it's working. It's enough, but it would be helpful to have a second screen to see what it is you guys are seeing. So thank you, Tony, for confirming that. The Silent Shades of Sorrow is a book. It's called The Silent Shades of Sorrow, Healing for the Wounded. It is from the C.H. Spurgeon Classics Collection, and actually Zach Eswine introduces the book. He's written an introduction for this, so I think he even wrote or contributed to the publication of this work, which I'm going to post here in the comments. I think that was done before he wrote Spurgeon Sorrows, I think. Not that it matters, but in any case, you can probably tell. Zach Eswine is a big fan of Charles Spurgeon, and so am I. In fact, if you are interested, I should have pulled this link up before, but it'll be a great opportunity for you. You know what? Let me just go get it. We're live, and you're gonna be okay if I take a minute to try to give you a resource. So, but IBCD a few years ago invited Zach Eswine to talk at a conference that I was really thankful to be able to attend in person before I moved to South Carolina. And he taught on Spurgeon's sorrows. He has, I think, 4 different messages. Yes. So one on depression. How do we care for those who struggle? Depression. What do we do if we have it? Depression. What is it? And then he has the last one, depression, biblical mentoring from fellow strugglers. So what I'm going to do is copy and paste the link to all of Zach Eswine's content on IBCD. These are free audio resources, guys. So you can just sit, and when you're driving, doing errands, you can listen to these excellent teaching, and you can access it today. You don't have to wait for Amazon to come bring you a delivery of books. You can start listening. So let me go ahead and share that. Zach Eswine audios on depression available here. Thank you for being patient during the live while I try to equip you with some more resources, but I didn't want to make you have to go try to find it on your own. So you can check out that link, and again, free resources from IBCD that are super helpful. And you may even find that you share them with people who are either involved in one another care or are depressed themselves. And I would say that as someone who was depressed, even when maybe not at the time when I went to that event, but I think it's relevant for both, for the person who is suffering and then for the person who's caring for the person who is suffering. And so what you will find with this last recommendation, the Silent Shades of Sorrow, that is hard. Thank you, Kim. She says this is awesome. Oh, thank you for your encouragement. I'm glad that it's helpful. I'm just trying to point you guys in some directions of useful resources that have been helpful to me. So this is the one that you may not have had on your radar, right? And I want to share why I'm recommending it. It really goes back to even the reasons why I recommended Spurgeon's Sorrows, the very first blue book right there. But what's great is that the Silent Shades of Sorrow is a collection of sermons. Okay, so that's what makes it different, is that these are, if I had the book here, I want to say there are 5 different, maybe 6, more than 4. In that range, at least 5 different sermons that the editors pulled where Charles Spurgeon really is speaking to the despondent heart. And even most of them, he's using biblical, if I remember correctly, using biblical narratives. And this particular book helped me because it helped me to see in the scriptures. I mean, all of the books help us to go back to the scriptures, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't be recommending them. But this one in particular, if you are a fan of Charles Spurgeon, you know how God just gifted him with the ability to teach and to communicate and to pull out really practical, moving truths from scriptures. And I think too, this book helped me to better understand how God meets people in their experiences of depression, how God actually comes to them or interacts with them. And I think that you get that in Spurgeon's Sorrows. And I think that this particular book does that really well, whereas that's not the main goal of the other books that I've recommended. I'm pointing, but you can't see, I'm pointing and you can't see that. Let me just change here. Hold on, and then you can get the full view. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, now you can see my pointing. So that's why I would recommend that particular one kind of as a capstone, right? I mean, in terms of if you only had to read 5 books on a Christian perspective or a biblical perspective on the topic of depression, those would personally be mine that I would recommend. And I think Charles Spurgeon just kind of comes up after, you have the first 4, and then you bring in the Spurge and the way that he addresses the topic through going into the scriptures. And I feel like that's kind of the tie that just gets us really enveloped on even he goes into some of the heart struggles, of course, but really how God views those and interacts with those and treats those and handles those, his sorrowing ones with care, right? And I think that that's really, really, really important. And so if you have followed my ministry for any amount of time, or even in the books that are going to be coming out that I mentioned before, I think you'll notice that I'm very heavily influenced by these particular 5 books. And so they've deeply ministered to me, which is why I absolutely recommend them as my top 5 recommendations for Christian books on depression. Have you ever heard of that book? Oop, let's go to this one. The Silent Shades of Sorrow. So this is a very thin book. Again, probably similar in size to Spurgeon's Sorrows, although it's a little bit bigger in terms of inches. It's a bigger rectangle. But I would also say too, probably wouldn't recommend it for someone in the thick of depression, just because Charles Spurgeon, I wouldn't say he's difficult to read at all, but I'm just not sure if it's the best one to recommend right off the bat. So again, I think it's kind of, you've built a good foundation, you've explored some of the heart things going on, you've considered physical components, you're going to the scriptures, and you want to be, reminded of the power of the Holy Spirit inside of you, that change is possible. As Tim Chester says, change is in our DNA the minute that we accept Christ as our Lord and Savior, believe on him for eternal salvation. Change is in your DNA, right? I love remembering that quote. And so Silent Shades of Sorrow, I don't know who came up with that title, but you try to say it and try to say it fast, and maybe you'll do better than I do, but it's hard. So those are my top 5, guys. I hope that was helpful. I gave you some links. All of the links for the books I've recommended are in the description of this video. You're welcome to check them out and explore. Also, you are welcome to, if you want to hold on one second while I have you guys here, here's what I'm going to do, okay? I'm going to go to my website real fast and get the audio from Zach Eswine, my interview with him, so that you don't have to go and look for it. We're here, we're having a great time, so let's just go ahead and pull those links up. Zach Eswine. And I do think I want to rebroadcast that one, update it with the IBCD information, because it was such a helpful conversation. So let me go ahead. And Tony, thank you so much for joining us today. I don't know that I recognize your name, so I'd love to hear how you found out about this broadcast. And then Mary, thank you for sharing these book titles. Going to check them out. Love Charles Spurgeon. Absolutely, me too. I cannot wait to meet him in heaven and give him a big old bear hug. I feel like he'd be a good hugger, but maybe, I don't know why, because he has a beard. I don't know what it is, but okay. So here is, I'm going to say podcast. Hold on, I want to get you guys these resources. Otherwise, I will forget. Podcast with Zach Eswine. Hope and help for the depressed Christian. Okay. So you can get that one there. And then also, let me go ahead while we're here, right? Let's just do it. Get the podcast interview that I did with Dr. Charles Hodges on bipolar disorder. And even if that's not part of your experience of depression, this is, I think, just as an overall podcast to listen to, something that is extremely helpful anyways. So you don't have to be working with someone who's been diagnosed with that label, and you don't have to personally be walking through that diagnosis or anything, but still a really great conversation. So Hope and Help for bipolar disorder with Dr. Charles Hodges. Boom. Oops. Well, hopefully that went through. And so, yeah, I have just totally loaded you up with lots of resources. Okay, so that link, you'll have to, you know what? Can I highlight that? No, I can't. I accidentally added a slash on that link to the Charles Hodges podcast. And so you'll have to erase that. Hopefully it will still get you where you need to go, but you can go check that out. You see the web address on there. Just take off that little funny, it's like making a teepee. So you don't want to have the teepee. When you go to use that link, take that off. And so you've got links. We ran just a few minutes over, but that's okay because this is my first time running through something like this. I really super appreciate your engagement. I want to remind you, if this was helpful, and some of you have said that it was, and I appreciate that, if this is helpful, I want to do this more often. And in fact, I would love to get to a point where I'm doing Top 5 Fridays for a half hour, 35 minutes every week and sharing my top 5, whatever it is. So, it may not always be books, it may be something different, but definitely in terms of my top 5, favorite things that are speaking the hope and help of Jesus Christ to some of life's most challenging problems. And so that being said, if you are interested, I also forgot to mention, okay, so here's what we're going to do. Okay, so sign up for the resources, right? So these I send out every week on Wednesday, emails to my subscribers that contain information on my most recent podcast with the Hope and Help podcast. And if you are not familiar with the Hope and Help podcast, we have biblical conversations about life's challenging problems. I interview people who are authors, ministry leaders, leaders in the biblical counseling movement. And so that is a great opportunity for you to get biblical perspectives on some of life's most challenging problems, like depression, like bipolar disorder. We recently have had PTSD, panic attacks, and all kinds of other topics too. So you can check that out. But the best way to stay connected to know when I release those episodes, usually twice a month is the schedule I have for the rest of this year. That is where you want to sign up for emails, christinemchapel.com/email. And if you sign up, not only will you get the notices for podcasts and then book updates and projects that I'm working on, but I did just come up with a brand new scripture printable. And so if you are on my email list, and probably have already seen the printable download that I have available that gives you Clinging to Hope is the name of the document, and it includes scriptures that encourage us to, with the hope of the Lord. And people have printed it out for just personal use, so you can put it in a church office or a counseling office, wherever you want to use it, share with a friend. Tony said she just listened to Hope and Help for overeating, yes, with Shannon McCoy. And Shannon is a wonderful biblical counselor and my friend. In fact, I know I'm going over time, so if you have to go, that's just fine, but I'm fine, I don't have to go. And so she recommended these to me. And so again, this is not part of Top 5 Friday, but I will recommend. These are Blu-ray blocker glasses. And I don't need a reading prescription, but I am on the computer a lot. I'm working on a book. It's taking forever. I have all my other responsibilities too at IBCD and just my personal ministry. And so I'm on the computer a lot, but my eyes have really been giving me a lot of trouble. I'm not wearing these right now because you can't really see my eyes the way that the window is. But have you used Blu-ray blockers? I'd love to hear if you have used them. These have been such a help in the last week since I've had them. Shannon McCoy, who you listened to, Tony, on that podcast for overeating, she's the one who recommended the Blu-ray blockers to me. And I feel like there should have been a PSA to let everyone know who works on the computer all day that Blu-ray blockers, you need them. You need them for your eyes. And so anyway, you mentioned that podcast and Shannon and then Blu-ray blockers. That's how we got there. So back to the signing up for the emails. So I did just put together a brand new printable. It's titled Waiting on God. And so what that offers you is a download. You can see it. It's kind of small, but it's actual size in a real life. But in the graphic, it's small. It's a collection of scriptures that are all about waiting on God, waiting on the Lord. And that idea came from actually when I was a counselee and I was working with a counselor at IBCD in San Diego a few years ago, or I don't know, 5 years ago now or something. And that was one of the homework assignments that I had when I first started going, was to memorize. My counselor gave me a printable of a bunch of different scriptures about waiting on God. And I had to pick one that really ministered to me or meant something, personally to me in that moment, and memorize it and then come back the next week and rehearse it. And so I thought to myself, well, gosh, that was helpful for me. So maybe it will be helpful for you or someone that you're working with. So if you want to get that printable, log on to christinemchapel.com/email. In fact, why don't I say get printable and subscribe at, I'm sorry for shaking the camera, but christinemchapel.com/email. So that's in the comments. I'm not sure if it'll be clickable because I didn't put the HTTPS on there, but if you sign up there on Wednesday, you'll get the link. So you can expect to receive that. And again, it's just a free resource that I created for you to use. So feel free to do that. And I think we're just about done with today's broadcast. So thank you again for joining me today for Top 5 Friday. This whole system is brand new to me. So this is my first time using a new camera. I'm connected. I'm hardwired to the Ethernet. I'm not doing Wi-Fi. You've got graphics on the screen on a live broadcast. I've never done that before. It's great. I got to show you guys yourself on the comments. Kim, thank you. I mean, how fun is that to be able to see people and interact with you guys? I thought it was really great. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If it was helpful to you, please let me know. And sign up for the email so that you can know when I go live next. I may try to do this again next Friday. I just haven't thought of a topic yet. So if there's something you have questions about, if you're wondering about resources for a particular issue, and if I have any recommendations, I'd be happy to hear from you. So you can comment on this video. You can reach out to me on my website. There's a contact page there. And if you are just watching the replay, or if you just joined us live, but you're on the tail end of it, right? Because I don't think you can go back just yet to watch the recording, then I will have this on my website as long as Facebook allows me to embed it. But you can also go back to my Facebook page and watch the replay. Kim says, this has been great. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much, Kim, for joining us all the way from, where did you say it was? Ukraine? Or somewhere very far, far away. Yeah, Ukraine. Golly, how in the world did you get connected to me from all the way over there? That is really, really cool. So thank you for joining me. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Thanks again. Be sure to sign up to be notified. You could also, if you're really savvy on Facebook, then you know probably that you can, there might even have been a message that says, that popped up and said, let me know when Christine M. Chapel goes live. You can actually get notifications from Facebook. I don't have that pulled up right now, so I don't know how to walk you through it, but there is a way that you can change the notification settings from my Christine M. Chapel page so that when I do go live, you are notified. But I have a connection. Kim, I'm laughing at Kim. Yeah, you don't need to disclose exactly how you got to connected with me, but that's fine. And Mary said, thank you for sharing. Mary, I hope, and hey guys, if you're watching, I know Mary would love for you to, well, maybe I shouldn't say, just, I'm praying for you, Mary. I'm praying for you, and you know why I'm praying for you, so I will keep it just at that. But in any case, I'm thankful that you joined as well. So you can subscribe and be notified when I have new events on Facebook. But the great thing about the emails is that it gives you like a heads up. So you get notified in advance, whereas sometimes on Facebook, it will just tell you the minute that it's going live, and then you're not prepared. And then you're coming on the tail end and you've missed it. So yes, this last reminder, I will be posting this on the website. ChristineMchapel.com is the website where you can watch the replay. Probably won't get to that today, maybe, but sometime in the next few days, definitely by next week's Wednesday resource delivery. So if you sign up for the emails, not only will you get the new printable that I created, a list of waiting on God scriptures, but then you will also get the link to watch this replay. So definitely a great opportunity to get some resources your way, and hopefully that's helpful. So, all right, thanks for letting me practice my new setup. I really appreciate it. This I think worked. I think everything worked just fine. So I'm thankful, and I will chat with you guys very soon. And yeah, if you end up exploring some of these resources, send me a message and let me know how you like them. I'd love to hear back from you. And I hope that I will see you again on a next Top 5 Friday broadcast very, very soon. All right. We'll see you later. Thanks, guys. Bye.